and physiology. Then we'll talk about different level of organization of the human body, from the smallest to the largest. Then we'll talk about the systems of the human body. Human body consists of 11 systems. How many? 11. So we'll go over those 11 systems one by one, and two things we'll focus on. We'll talk about parts of each of those 11 systems and important functions. So today you will just learn those two things about those 11 systems: important parts of each system and important functions. Your entire NP1 and 2 is actually learning those 11 systems. Few of those 11 you will learn in NP1, and rest of the systems you will learn in NP2. Okay, so you need to know about those 11 systems. Then we'll talk about a couple other things: necessary life functions and survival need. So, what is anatomy? Anatomy is the study of the structure of the body. How human body is structured, that study is the human anatomy. So anatomy deals with the structure of the body. Now, anatomy is divided into few important branches or subdivisions. What are those? First, we divide the anatomy into two subdivisions. Microscopic anatomy and macroscopic anatomy. Okay. Macroscopic anatomy is also called gross anatomy. Okay. Micro means tiny, very small. You know, microscope, right? We use microscope to see very tiny things, right? So micro means very small, tiny. So microscopic anatomy is the study of very small structures of the body under the microscope or by using the microscope. Make sense? So you use microscope to study very small structures of the body, and that is the microscopic anatomy. What are the very small structures of your body? Cells, right? Intercellular organelles, mitochondria, endoplasmic reticulum, right? Lysosomes. Those are very small structures in the body. So the study of the cells and their organelles or tissue under the microscope, those belong to the microscopic anatomy. So microscopic is divided into two: cytology and histology. Cytology is, cyto means cell. So study of the cells and their organs is cytology. Histology is the study of tissue the word histo means tissue. Remember, cyto means cell, histo means tissue. So study of cell, study of tissue. Those belong to microscopic anatomy because to study the cell or the tissue, you need the microscope to see under the microscope. Macro means large or big. So macroscopic anatomy is the study of large structures of the body. For example, if I show you a heart, okay? If I show you a heart, you see over there, without microscope, you can tell, right? By looking its what? Shape, size, right? And other features. Without microscope, you can tell this is a heart. If I show you a kidney, by looking its shape, size, color, right? You can tell this is a kidney. Make sense? So, study of the large structures without microscope. That's the macroscopic anatomy or gross anatomy. Now, the macroscopic anatomy has also branches. For example, important branches are surface anatomy, developmental anatomy, system anatomy. Another one is regional anatomy. Okay, so those are some important subdivisions of macroscopic anatomy: surface anatomy, developmental anatomy, system anatomy, regional anatomy. Surface anatomy, what is that? You know that your heart is located in the left side of the thorax. All of you know that, right? Heart is mostly in the left side of the thorax. Now, we also know that heart is located, you see here, your heart is located between, in the left side, between the second and fifth intercostal space. So this is first intercostal space, second, third, fourth, fifth. So here, and now you can locate your heart by counting the ribs, right? And you can actually feel the ribs from outside by pressing with your finger, right? This is first rib, this is second rib, this is third rib, right? You can do that. So from outside of the body, you can locate the location of the heart by counting the ribs. And that is an example of surface anatomy. I can draw the heart on your body, that your heart is here, okay? And you know, on the skull, another example, you have some important sutures. You see the sutures, the lines. These are very important. The neurosurgeons always use that, those sutures, okay? Because you know, inside the brain, you have many important structures. So they know that if they want to reach to that particular structure, that is located how many millimeter posterior or anterior from this suture, how many millimeter above from this suture. So they can, you know, exactly pinpoint that part, locate that area. Make sense? By looking those outside landmarks. Those are the landmarks, okay? You can see from outside and locate important internal organs. So that is the surface anatomy. Surgeons use that a lot. Developmental anatomy, you know, after fertilization, the body starts to be formed, and fertilized egg starts to multiply and first forms the embryo, right? You know that. So embryology is a very important part of developmental anatomy. First 8 weeks of life is considered as embryo. So after fertilization, if you start to count from there, day 1, then first 8 weeks, that period is embryology, which is a very important part of developmental anatomy. Then the growth of the body continues, right? After embryology, embryo becomes what? Fetus, right? Inside the mother's uterus. So embryo becomes fetus, and then fetus becomes infant, right? Comes out from the mother's uterus, and then growth continues, right? So that entire period is developmental anatomy. How the organs are being formed and changing their size and shape, right? Getting their actual size and shape. So that study is the developmental anatomy. How your body parts are being, organs are being formed. So anatomists also study that. System anatomy. How many systems you have? 11. Very good. So if any anatomist decides, I will only study the brain. Make sense? So that is the part of nervous system. You all know that, right? So that is the system anatomy. If I only decide to study the cardiovascular system, the structure of the heart, the structure of the blood vessels, capillaries, make sense? So I am a system anatomist. Make sense? So study of individual system, structure of individual system. Regional anatomy, that is another important subdivision. There are many anatomists, they only study the structure of head and neck. It is called head and neck anatomy. You will see that book, textbook, upper level anatomy study, right? So head and neck anatomy, that means that only deals with the structure of this part of the body. Make sense? So regional anatomy. So those are important subdivisions of macroscopic anatomy. Physiology. Physiology is the study of the functions of the body. Anatomy is the structure, physiology is the study of the functions. Now we see a sentence here that says anatomy and physiology are inseparable. This is a very powerful, important sentence. Why? Because all body organs, all the organs of your body are designed to perform specific functions. Make sense? Every organ of your body has specific structure, right? To perform what? Specific what? Function. For example, your heart, you all know, heart has chambers inside, right? To hold the blood. And heart is designed to hold the blood, not only that, to pump the blood, right? So heart contracts and relaxes. So you see that heart is designed to perform those specific functions, right? So blood will come back, it will receive the blood, and it will pump the blood to the outside. Your joints, you see, at the end of the bones, you see there are particular structures. Those structures are to form the joints. Make sense? So you see, the structures are designed to perform specific functions. If joints are not formed, then you won't be able to move the body parts. Make sense? So you see, joints are designed to move the body parts. So anatomy is the structure and physiology is the function, and they are inseparable. Pathology is a branch of medical science that deals with the abnormal functions of the body. So remember, physiology, when I said physiology is the study of the functions, what kind of functions? Normal functions, that is important. So underline that. Physiology is the study of the normal functions. Pathology is the study of abnormal functions, not normal. That is the difference between physiology and pathology. Make sense? Okay. Now, if I take your heart rate, what is normal heart rate in resting condition? Anybody? 70 to 80, right? Per minute in resting condition. That is normal, right? So if I say that, I'll tell your heart is functioning normal, right? Physiology. Now you are sitting in resting condition, relaxed condition. If I take your heart rate and see it is 150 or 60, is that normal? That's not normal, right? So I'll think that you must have something wrong in your heart, right? So that is pathology. If it stays like that, that is a clinical condition. Make sense? It is not normal anymore. Your heart is not functioning normally anymore. Make sense? So heart function is not normal anymore. So that is pathology. So you have to do what? You have to go to the doctor, right? So that is a disease. So pathology deals with the abnormal conditions or diseases. Now, levels of organization of the human body. If you see from the smallest to the largest, smallest level is the chemical level that deals with atoms and molecules. Then one step higher or larger is the cellular level, and cellular level indicates cells and the organelles. You know, organelles are mitochondria, I mentioned, right? Endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi apparatus, lysosomes, those are the organelles. So then one level higher or larger is the tissue. Why? Because tissue is the collection of many similar cells. So many similar cells grouped together or joined together to form the tissue. For example, connective tissue, one type of tissue, right? Muscle tissue. Muscle tissue will be formed by the muscle cells, not neural cells. Make sense? So many muscle cells together form the muscle tissue. Many neurons or neural cells join together to form the neural tissue. So similar cells. Then organ. Two or more tissues join together to form an organ. So, example, your heart, your lung, your trachea, blood vessels, arteries, veins, all those are organs. Now, if you see a blood vessel, okay, so this is the blood vessel, and in the wall of the blood vessel you see three layers. Outermost covering is the connective tissue, then the middle layer is a thick layer, that is the smooth muscle, so muscle tissue, the middle, this is the muscle tissue that forms the thick layer. So outer connective tissue is the covering, middle muscle tissue, then innermost very thin lining is the epithelial tissue. So you see three different types of tissues joined together to form the blood vessel. Outer covering is connective tissue, middle thick layer is smooth muscle tissue, and innermost lining is epithelial tissue. So this is an organ formed by those three types of tissues. Is it clear? You see three different types of tissues are here, right? They join together to form the blood vessel, which is an organ. Then system. Different organs work together to form a system. Very simple. Example, cardiovascular system. All of you know, right? Cardiovascular system. You have heard, I believe, cardiovascular system. Have you heard respiratory system, urinary system, nervous system, right? Those are the systems. Let's talk about cardiovascular system. Cardio means what? Heart. Vascular means blood vessels, right? So cardiovascular system is formed by what? Heart. How many? One. Okay. So one heart and many blood vessels. What are the blood vessels? Arteries, veins, capillaries, right? So you see, your system is formed by different organs. Heart, arteries, veins, capillaries. Those are the organs from that cardiovascular system, right? So respiratory system, your nasal cavity, trachea, larynx, pharynx, right? Lungs, those together, working together, right? They can't work separately. They must work together, right? To form a system. Got it? The system is formed by different organs, but one thing is important, they must work together. Okay? Urinary system, your kidneys, then kidneys do what? Produce urine. Then urine is transported to the bladder by the ureter. Bladder holds the urine, right? So they are working together to perform the function, complete the function. Organism. All 11 systems of your body join together to form the whole body, and that is the organism. So organism is the whole body. Here in this picture you see those different levels of organization. So you see the chemical includes atoms and molecules, then cellular, cells and their organelles, tissue, many similar cells joined together. Here they have shown a smooth muscle tissue, so you see all those are smooth muscle cells like this, spindle shape. They join together to form the muscle tissue. Then you see the organ and system, and the organism is the whole body. Okay. Now what we will do, we will go over those 11 systems that form the human body. So I will mention two things, important parts of each organ and important functions, just few important functions, not too many, because you will learn these systems in detail eventually. So first, the integumentary system. Integumentary system covers the whole body. Covers what? The whole body. Okay. Feel free to ask me if you don't understand anything. So the parts of this system are skin, which is the main organ of this system, hair, nails, and the glands of the skin. Remember, you have many glands in the body, not all glands are integumentary system, parts of integumentary system. The glands of what? The glands of the skin. Have you heard sweat gland? sebaceous gland, right? So those are the glands of the skin. So only those glands belong to the integumentary system. Make sense? Okay. So which one is the main organ? Skin, that covers the whole body, you know that. Accessory organs are hair, nail, and sweat and sebaceous glands. Now, the important functions. By covering your whole body, your integumentary system protects your body, right, from outside harms. So, that is number one, protection. Number two, synthesis of vitamin D. How? Sunlight falls on the skin. So this is your skin. Okay. And when the sunlight, no sun during the eclipse, right? But otherwise you have sun every day. So when sunlight falls on the skin, your skin produces a chemical that is called cholecalciferol. This cholecalciferol is a precursor of vitamin D. Precursor of vitamin D. That means it is an inactive form of vitamin D that will become vitamin D. Then this inactive cholecalciferol is taken to the kidneys by the blood, and inside the kidneys the cholecalciferol is converted to the active form of vitamin D that is called calcitriol. So calcitriol is active vitamin D. Okay. So you see that your skin or integumentary system helps in the synthesis of vitamin D by producing the precursor of vitamin D. It helps in the synthesis of vitamin D. Vitamin D is very important for your body. It helps in calcium absorption in the intestine. We'll talk about that later. Housing cutaneous receptors. Very important function. In your skin, you have cutaneous sensations. You all know that the skin has sensation, right? What kind of sensations your skin has, you all know. Touch, right? If somebody touches, you can tell you got a touch without looking, right? Pain. If something, bites it, or, you got scratch, you feel pain, right? Why? Because you have pain receptors there. So you have pain sensation. You have temperature sensation. If something hot or cold touches your skin, you can tell, right, that it is hot or cold. Is it clear? So your skin has those sensations. Why your skin has those sensations? Because the skin has those receptors. That is important. So those are called the cutaneous receptors. Which cutaneous receptors you have in the skin? You have touch receptors, pain receptors, temperature receptors, hot and cold receptors, right? So that's why you have those sensations, and those sensations are very important, right? If something very hot touches your skin and if you don't feel, then you will get what? Burn, right? Don't move away because you have no sensation. So those sensations are extremely important for your survival. Okay, so that is another very important function. Skeletal system. This is your skeletal system. This whole thing. So it consists of the bones and bones meet at the joints. So bones and the joints together form this whole thing. That's the skeletal system. Now, important functions. Again, protection. Let me quickly give you a couple of examples how your bones protect your important organs. You know that inside the cranial cavity you have what? The brain, right? The most important organ is protected by what? The cranial bones, right? You see here, your eyeball is here, right? It's protected by the bones. Your nasal cavity is protected by the bones. Your organs inside the mouth are protected by the bones. Just few examples. Your heart is protected by these bones, ribs, right? So protection is very important function of the skeletal system. Supporting, your whole body is supported by what? This, right? Your whole body is supported by, this is the framework, skeleton. Your whole body is supported by this. Your spine is helping you to stay erected, right? Yes. Which one? You said cartilage. Cartilages are also the part of the skeletal system. Yes, cartilages help it. Cartilages are actually parts of the joints. You see here, these ribs are attached to the sternum. This bone is the sternum by what? Costal cartilages, right? So joint, and I have mentioned joint. So joint are formed by many cases by cartilages. Okay, so protection, support, provide a framework of, provide the attachment of the skeletal muscles. Your skeletal muscles are attached to the skeleton or bones. Okay, so those muscles help you to move the body parts. So by providing attachment to the muscles, your skeletal system helps in the movement at the joints. That's the sentence. By providing the muscles. You all know that we move the body parts where? At the joints. But can you move without muscle? No. So your bones with the attachment, right, to the muscles, and by contraction and relaxation of the muscles, you move the body parts. So if the bones don't give the muscles attachment to the muscles, you won't be able to move. Blood cell formation. Inside the bones, you have red bone marrow. And red bone marrow is the primary site for blood cell formation. Your blood cells are formed from the red bone marrow. Comes from the red bone marrow, and bone marrow is a part of the bone or skeleton. Store minerals. Your bones contains a lot of calcium, magnesium, and phosphorus. Particularly those three minerals. Calcium is heavily present in the bone. Magnesium and phosphorus. Those minerals are heavily present in the bone, and if in your blood the concentration of those minerals goes down, then bone will release. For example, if in your blood calcium concentration goes down, immediately the bone will release calcium from it, will enter into the blood. So the calcium level will go up. So those are the minerals stored heavily inside the bones. So those are the functions: protection, supporting, the body, providing attachment to the muscles, skeletal muscles that help in the movement and blood cell formation and storage of minerals. Muscular system. Muscular system consists of the skeletal muscles of your body. You already know that skeletal muscles are found attached to the skeletal bones. Now, the functions of the skeletal muscles, number one is locomotion, movement. I have already mentioned muscles help to move the bones at the joints. Muscles, skeletal muscles help to move the bones at the joints. So movement is number one function. Facial expression. In your face, you have several muscles. Those are called the facial muscles, and those muscles help in facial expressions. For example, when you are happy, right, you smile. That is facial expression, and I can tell by looking at your face if you are happy or sad, right, or depressed or angry. Sometimes you get angry by looking at your face. I can tell, or somebody can tell, right, that you are angry. So those are the facial expressions: happy face, angry face, right, sad face, and those are given by those facial muscles. Not only that, it's not mentioned here. Another very important function of your facial muscles, some facial muscles help to move the jaw, mandible, right, and chew the food, mastication, right, that is also very important. When you speak, you move your mandible, right, so those are also given by the muscles. Production of heat. When your body gets very cold, that is called what? Hypothermia. Have you heard that? Hypothermia? Yeah. So, if the body temperature goes down, hypothermia occurs, then what happens? Your body starts to shake, shivering, right? Why that happens? To produce heat. So, skeletal muscle movement produces what? Heat, to increase your body temperature. Make sense? So, we already know that skeletal muscle movement produces heat. How you know? When you do exercise, right? Move your muscles and heat is produced in the body, right? So, production of heat is another very important function of skeletal muscles. Make sense? Everybody is understanding what I am saying? This side? Are getting the idea? What's going on? Yes or no? Okay. You have to respond, otherwise I want to know if you are really understanding or just I'm talking but you are not understanding. Okay. Nervous system, the most important system of your body. Two systems of those 11 systems of your body are called control systems. These two systems are nervous system and endocrine system. Nervous system controls the body functions by electrical signal transmission. By what? What kind of signal transmission? Electrical. So nerves carry electrical signal. Okay. You're right. Electrical signal at synapses are transmitted by chemicals, neurotransmitters, right? Those are called neurotransmitters. But still, we say electrical signal transmission. But at synapses, neurochemicals or neurotransmitters help in that transmission. Endocrine is another control system which works through hormones. Endocrine hormones. So these two control systems work differently, but they do what? Control the functions of the body, but two different means or two different ways. So now you tell me which one is fast acting, which one is slow acting, relatively. Nervous system is fast because electrical. We know that electrical transmission is very fast, right? So if your brain wants to send signal to the muscle, it can quickly send signal, right? If something very hot touches, you move immediately, right? So that's the electrical transmission, very fast. For hormones to work, you know that endocrine system, endocrine glands need to produce hormone first, then secrete the hormones into the blood. Okay, blood will transmit. Blood will carry that hormone to the site of action. Then the hormone will bind with the receptors and then will work. Make sense? So you see, there are a number of steps. For example, you have thyroid gland here. If thyroid gland wants to work on an organ, thyroid gland first need to produce that hormone, synthesize that hormone, release that hormone, blood will take that hormone to the site of action where it will work, then that hormone will work on it, right? So every step needs some time, right? So relatively what? Slower, but both are very powerful. Your nervous system consists of the brain, the spinal cord, and many nerves. One brain, of course, one spinal cord, and what? Many nerves. You have thousands of nerves and their branches. Endocrine system consists of the endocrine glands. Endocrine glands. I'll just mention the name of few important endocrine glands of your body. The important endocrine glands are what? If we start from the head, in your brain you have pituitary and pineal. Both start with what? P. Pituitary gland and pineal gland. Let me just mention the function, one or two of each. Pituitary gland is also called or known as master gland. That's the pituitary. Why? Because this is the boss of all the glands. Pituitary gland controls the other glands of the body. That's why it is called the master gland. Another gland in the brain is the pineal. Pineal gland has a couple of important functions. One is called the circadian rhythm, regulation of circadian rhythms. Have you heard this? Right, that kind of things can Right, this animal, the animals thought it's getting night, right? Dark. Uh, so circadian rhythm is the day-night cycle, right? In your body, biological clock. 12 hour, we say. At daytime, you stay awake. At night, you sleep, right? So that is the circadian rhythm. That is controlled by or regulated by the pineal gland. So this is number one important function. Number two, synthesis of melatonin chemical. Okay, this chemical is related to sleep, and also this chemical works on the skin, and that gives the color of the skin. Okay, melanin production. So these are two important functions of the pineal gland. Now if you go down in the lower part of the neck here, which gland you have? I have already mentioned a few minutes ago. Anybody remember? Thyroid gland, right? Thyroid gland is responsible for metabolic activities, because thyroid hormones are mainly responsible for metabolic activities. So, metabolism. Then if you see the back of the thyroid gland, it's not shown here. In the back of the thyroid gland, if this is the thyroid gland, in the back, that means in the dorsal surface, you have tiny glands attached like this. 4 to 8 in number. Number is not fixed, it varies between 4 to 8, like tiny glands. Those are called parathyroid glands. Parathyroid glands are 4 to 8 in number, attached to the back or dorsal surface of the thyroid gland, and these glands are very important. Why? Because parathyroid glands regulate the calcium, blood calcium. So if the blood calcium goes down, the parathyroid hormone increases the calcium level in the blood. So very important. So if in your exam, in your test, I ask which gland is called the master gland. Anyway, which one is called the master gland? Pituitary? Yes. Why? It regulates the other glands of the body, right? Controls the other glands of the body. Which gland is responsible for circadian rhythm? Pineal, right? Which one is responsible for synthesis of melatonin? Also pineal, right? Also pineal. I mentioned two functions of pineal. Which gland is responsible for metabolic activities? Thyroid, right? Which gland is located in the front of the lower part of the neck? Thyroid, right? Which glands are located in the dorsal surface of thyroid? Thyroid. How many? 4 to 8. Responsible for regulation of? No, thyroid is metabolic activity. Parathyroid is for calcium in the blood, right? Calcium in the blood. Okay. So those are the type of questions I'll ask. In the upper part of your thorax here, you have another gland, endocrine gland, that is called the thymus. Thymus is responsible for immunity. Just write it down. Immunity, which is the defensive function of the body. Thymus is interesting. Why? Because in infants, if you see in very early stage of life, in infants, the thymus is so big, large, that it occupies almost whole upper part of the thorax. Okay, and gradually it gets smaller and shrinks and becomes like this. Okay, in adults. So why thymus is so big in infants in early stage? Because in infants the immunity is not yet established. Okay, it takes some time, few years, to get the immunity established in the body, develop in the body. Slowly immunity develops. As the immunity develops, other systems take care of the immune function, then your thymus function is less important, right? So it's smaller. But in early stage of life, thymus is mainly responsible for immunity. That's why it has to work more, and it's very big. Yeah, in childhood or in puberty, it already small. Then, if you go to the abdomen here, this is the abdomen, this is the thorax. On the top of the kidneys, our time is almost done. Just I'll finish this, then we'll stop. On the top of the kidneys, you have adrenal glands sitting on the kidneys, like the crown of the kidney. Have you seen Queen Elizabeth in England? Crown, nice crown. So on the kidney, you have a nice crown. That is the adrenal gland. So how many adrenal glands you have? 2, because you have 2 kidneys, right? And adrenal glands are also called supra. Supra means above. Renal means kidney. Suprarenal, the top of the kidney. Adrenal glands are very important glands in your body. I'll just mention few functions. Number 1, glucose metabolism. Number 2, strong anti-inflammatory. Strong anti-inflammatory function. Number 3, adrenal gland hormones are responsible for regulation of minerals. Regulation of minerals. Sodium, potassium, calcium, those minerals. Number 4, synthesis of sex hormones. Synthesis of sex hormones, or production of sex hormones. And last one, number 5, is production of adrenaline, the hormone that excites the body. You know adrenaline? Have you heard that? Adrenaline secretion causes excitement, right? So increases the heart rate, increases the blood pressure. So these are the important functions of the adrenal gland. Just know that inside the adrenal gland there are layers, and this gland, each layer forms a particular type of hormone. So this layer outermost produces one type of hormone, middle one produces another type of hormone, inner one produces another type of hormones. That's why we say adrenal gland is a gland that has 3 glands inside one. three glands in one because three layers work as three different glands, produce three different types of hormones. Okay. Pancreas. Pancreas is a mixed type gland. It is not purely endocrine. All other glands we are talking about, those are purely endocrine because we are talking about the endocrine system. But pancreas is a mixed type gland. This is different than other glands. Why it is mixed? Because it has both endo and exocrine parts. So pancreas has endocrine part as well as exocrine part. That's why it is called a mixed. Others are purely endocrine. Since we are talking about endocrine system, endocrine part of pancreas produces two very important hormones, insulin, you all know, and glucagon. Insulin lowers or increases the sugar. You all know insulin does what? Why diabetic patient takes insulin? To increase the sugar or decrease the sugar? Why diabetic patients get insulin? Certainly decrease. If the sugar goes up in diabetic patient, they will die. Right? They will be in trouble. So you won't take insulin to increase the sugar, right? Diabetic patients take insulin to do what? Decrease. So insulin lowers the blood sugar, makes sense? And another hormone produced by endocrine, that is called glucagon. This one gets to opposite. So increases the glucose or sugar. Decreases the glucose or sugar. Okay, so these two hormones, you see, both are produced by the endocrine part of pancreas, but they have what? Opposite actions, right? If you know insulin, you know glucagon. It's the opposite. Is it clear? Okay. Last one, gonads. Male gonads are testes, female gonads are ovaries. So male gonads are what? And female gonads? Ovaries. How many testes and ovaries? How many testes? 2. How many ovaries? 2. Okay, good. All of you know that, right? In one test I asked that simple question just to give like kind of bonus points. So I thought everybody will know, but a couple of the students said 3, 4. Okay, so or 1 ovary. So sometimes you miss the basic questions, so I need to know those things. Otherwise, I won't be able to help you. Okay, so gonads produce sex hormones, right? Testosterone in male, so testes produces testosterone, ovaries produce estrogen, progesterone, female sex hormones. So just know these are the important endocrine glands of your body. Now, you see few organs of your body are the parts of more than one system. The last thing, gonads. Gonads are part of endocrine system because they produce hormones, right? Sex hormones. But they are also part of what? Reproductive system, because we know that your testis produces what? Sperm. Ovaries produce what? Egg, right? So those are also reproductive organs. Make sense? So some organs belong to more than one system. Your thymus, endocrine, but also immune system, because I mentioned that its function is immunity, right? So we include them in more than one system. So let's stop here. If